Welcome to a self-published author's diary. I am Elodie Novodatsky. I write about first times, second chances, things that scare the crap out of me, and things that make me laugh out loud. I'll be speaking with you and sharing my adventures in self-publishing, the behind the scenes of writing, and the business side of it. And before we get started today, a small message from our sponsor, Anchor. Thanks for listening. Hello, it is Monday, March 14th, as I'm recording this episode. I was just thinking I didn't do a whole lot this morning, before realizing that I did schedule my first Veda episode for the pen name I'm starting this year. Scheduling it meant rereading it and editing it one more time. My goal is to have 5 episodes ready and scheduled by the end of this week to be released on March 25th. And then I have 2 episodes, or at least my plan is to have 2 episodes ready ahead of time as I release 1 episode every week on Friday starting April 1st. Maybe I forgot that I did that because of the time change over the weekend. I had totally forgotten about all the work that I started doing when I first woke up pretty early at 5 something, but I did not forget about this episode, so here I am. Today I'll talk about how one of my videos went viral on Instagram and about my Amazon ads. So yes, I went viral. Well, viral for me, not the Leftover Bride viral. Grateful for that, even though I guess in my case, unlike Sorka, my main character in The Leftover Bride, if one of my books was loved by a lot of people, to the level of Ali Hazelwood on TikTok, I wouldn't complain. This is what happened. First of all, when I say viral, I mean that it got about 28,600 views. So it's not maybe viral for someone who gets 600,000 to 1 million to more than 1 million views, but it's viral for me, who at most on Instagram gets between 400 and 3,000 views on my reels. Actually, right now it's more between 50 and 3,000 views on Instagram reels. So when I first posted that video about 2 weeks and a half ago, it gathered a few hundred views on the first day. Then about 5 days later, it got a push somehow and sat at about 5,000 views. And a couple days later, it got another push, and within hours, it got thousands more views. Until it plateaued at about 22,300 views and hundreds of likes last week. And since last week, it keeps on getting views, regularly, reaching 28,600 views as of this morning, March 14th. So, did it convert to sales and borrows? That book, The Leftover Bride, it was a video about The Leftover Bride, is in Kindle Unlimited. So based on what I can tell, yes. So it did not garner hundreds of sales, but a couple of borrows and at least 1 sale, and also hundreds more pages read. My book was sitting at 790,000 in terms of ranking on Kindle. I'm not currently running any ads whatsoever, and I'm not talking about it except on TikTok and Instagram. Within less than 24 hours, it climbed all the way to about 70,000, and I think afterwards until like 58,000. In terms of orders, I had 1 person purchase the book. And I had people reading it in Kindle Unlimited because, again, I got way more pages read than usual. So not sure if the readers who borrowed it on Kindle Unlimited when that happened started reading it or if those pages read were from previous borrows. But clearly, because of that jump in ranking, and it stayed at that ranking for several days, quite a few people borrowed it. It also brought readers to the Goodreads page of the next standalone in the series, so of Sweets for Love, and some readers to my website. And that I can tell because I use a link tree on Instagram and I'm able to look at the statistics in terms of clicks. And then I double checked on my website to see if there were actually more visitors. And for the day, because it was on a Saturday, there was. So why do I think that reel gathered so many views? I think I know the reasons. So first, I created it in TikTok. I find it easier to use TikTok than Instagram Reels when it comes to sounds. And I used a sound that was just starting to trend on TikTok, but had already gathered thousands of views. So it was one of those TikToks that you see social media managers, on TikTok, the one that says, hey, this is starting to trend. I had seen that audio several times, like popping up in those social media manager videos, and also started to see it on my For You page from other either book talkers or authors. So I figured like, okay, let me use it. And then I double checked before making the video. I was like, oh, let me see if the creator of that audio is also on Instagram. That person was, and they also had the sound on Instagram. So I was able to add the sound to my saved audio on Instagram. So again, I created the sound on TikTok, and then I downloaded the video using Snaptic to remove the TikTok logo. On Instagram, that sound that I had found only had about 500 reels when I posted mine. That sound on Instagram now has 5,423 reels that were made with this audio. The original one has 3.2 million views. The second video, if you go on the page of the audio, it's a person who has 1.3 million views. And then even though I have less views than other videos, I'm the second video when you go on the page of that audio. Maybe it's because of the timing when I posted it. So I was really on the early side of the early trend. And I didn't know if that sound was also going to start trending on Instagram, but I figured it's really starting to pick up on TikTok. There's a good chance that it will also get a lot of views on Instagram. So when I uploaded the video to Instagram, I used the same sound again from the same creator, because if you don't do that, if you keep the sound as yours after removing the TikTok logo, well, in my view, it's kind of like a copyright issue, because you're using a sound that's not yours. There might be a creator on Instagram that has the sound that they actually made on TikTok, and I did not create that sound. And if you do that with music, you could actually get your video or the sound removed by Instagram, because it is a copyright issue. So it's always best practice to find the sound, the original sound from either the music or the creator. That also ensures that other creators searching for the sound on Instagram would see my video. So a little technical detail for those who might need it. I lowered my original sound to 0 and only left the added sound to ensure it would link back to the creator. Sometimes Instagram does it automatically if I add the music. Sometimes it doesn't. I'm not quite sure why, but for this one, I had to make sure that the original sound was to 0, and the added sound, which was the Instagram sound, was the one that was actually at 100. Full disclosure, that same TikTok video gathered about only 250 views. It wasn't super successful on TikTok, but on Instagram, after it started gaining more traction, more and more people saw it, and a lot of people liked it. A few people interacted with it. And again, it did help my sales and my visibility, I think, and the visibility of the series. I use the Swan's Cove romance series account, as I do a lot more. Like I talk about The Leftover Bride and Sweets for Love. It could be the topic for another episode, but I find it so much easier for me on Instagram to use that particular account to promote my books and to talk, not only to promote, but to talk about my books, right? Because, on social media, you're kind of like, it's not, hey, buy this. It's more talking about or sharing information about your book or sharing snippets about your book in a way that's entertaining. And I like to do it, but I enjoy doing it more from an account that's specifically created for that. At least on Instagram, that's just easier for me. When it comes to the time spent on each app, I'm not keeping track as much as I should, so that I could tell what the ROI, the return on investment, might be, because it could be interesting to take a closer look too, right? Yes, that's the only time that I'm spending currently marketing my books or talking about my books in a certain way, in addition to my newsletter. But how much time did I spend on the apps to find that sound, create the videos, upload the videos, make sure everything was working the way it was supposed to work. A couple of weeks ago, I spent way much more time. I had not found a balance yet for creating the videos on TikTok. Now I'm getting more into a rhythm, and it's not disturbing my writing schedule as much as it was maybe a couple of weeks ago when there was a little bit of a learning curve. And by a little bit, I mean probably a lot of a learning curve. And I'm still learning how to use TikTok. I'm still learning what works for me. I have several accounts on TikTok. I have my Elodie Novodatsky account, which is my author account, where I talk about my books and I talk about writing, and I show my face much more often. And I do a lot of character song inspiration with snippets of the books that I'm writing or of The Leftover Bride. Then I have a Swanscove Romance series account, which has a link. It's a business account for that one. I do not have a link in my Elodie Novodatsky account because I do not have yet 1,000 followers, and it's a personal account. For the business account, I started that business account, the Swanscove Romance series account, before TikTok changed the rules. I think now you need 1,000 followers even on a business account. Having a business account on TikTok means that I do not have access to a lot of the music that is available to personal accounts. I feel okay not using a business account with my author profile because I don't find it at all salesy. I'm just talking about, I usually don't talk a whole lot on that account, but it's a lot about sharing what I'm writing and books that I'm reading and things like that. So it's not as, I find, as needed for me than for the business account. Because on the business account, I talk about, sales, I talk about Kindle Unlimited, I talk more about where everything is available and stuff. And it just felt more natural for me to have a business account for those particular videos. And then I have a self-pubbed author's diary account, which is about this podcast. And on that one, basically, it doesn't take me a lot of time because I don't do a lot of trendy sounds. I basically just use it as kind of like the same as an Instagram story where I talk a little bit about, my Amazon ads and about what I'm doing and about random thoughts about self-publishing, or I share what has worked for me and stuff like that. I keep them pretty short. I don't do it every day. There is no pressure for me on that account at all. And it's really just to raise awareness a little bit and to share, like the same way that I'm doing with this podcast, which is I want to share the ups and downs of self-publishing. I'm not pretending that I know the secrets of self-publishing, and I'm still learning and I'm still trying to figure out what works best for my career, for me, for everything. So yes. So this is what's happening with me on TikTok right now. And I don't feel like I have to be, like I started where I thought I really needed to be super careful in terms of I need to make sure I post every day at this time. And I put a lot of pressure on myself. I am currently not doing that anymore. The one thing that I'm really careful and mindful of is that I use TikTok with the different accounts by interacting mainly and watching things that are related to what I'm doing on that account. So meaning on the Elodie author or the Elodie Novodatsky account, I have trained the algorithm to see a lot more about romance books. So I see a lot on my For You page. It's a lot about romance books and rom-coms and steamy romances and authors who also write rom-coms and romance. I also read romantic suspense. I mean, I read a lot of different genres. So sometimes it kind of varies, but it's mostly in those particular areas. On my Swanscove Romance series TikTok, I don't interact a whole lot, which is probably why I'm not gaining a lot of followers on that one, but it still doesn't seem to reduce a whole lot my views. I'll wait and see what happens with that, but so far it seems the algorithm is bringing my videos to the right accounts. And then in my self-pubbed author's diary account, I have followed a lot of authors and authors talking about their writing, about their self-publishing, and a lot of things like this. Like, I'm trying to interact with people who may be interested in my content just like I am interested in theirs. I am putting way less pressure on myself. In addition, you really have to train your algorithm on TikTok, because I have to say, the very first time I went on there, my For You page was out of control, scary even, and things that I'm thinking, oh my God, if a kid was watching those videos and got lost into a rabbit hole of those particular videos that were shown to me for no reasons whatsoever, it was, yeah. That's why I think I took a very large break from TikTok. And then when I came back on it, I was very mindful to not go through my For You page. I actually went and looked for people and looked at their videos. So I watched a lot of Broadway musicals things, which I still do. And sometimes I do still see those things pop up on my For You page. And then I watched videos. I went and looked for creators like book talkers and romance authors who I really like to read, and followed them. And writers that I know from my area, I also started following them because I'm also interested in their content. That's the content I wanted to see. I didn't want to see all those things that it was just not. So this is my little tip if you are starting TikTok or you're thinking about it. First of all, there are a lot of Facebook groups talking about it, and I will add again those Facebook groups into my episode's description. But it's also to make sure that maybe you look for the people you already want to see the content of, and then you interact with those content, because otherwise it's just, yeah. So doing all those videos is also, coming up with the captions and the text on screens. It enables me to talk about my story in other ways that are also helpful for my marketing. So talking about marketing, I will be creating yet another TikTok account. Again, no pressure for me, for my Kindle Vela story that I will publish under a pen name. For that story, I don't want to spend any money on ads. I'll create a newsletter and we'll do BookFunnel Vela story swap, a website, but that's it. No groups, no Facebook money ads at this stage. That Vela story will be about me actually finishing that first one in the series, waiting 30 days, and then publishing it in Kindle Unlimited. But writing it, the way I'm currently writing it, is episodic, meaning that the way my chapters are structured are a bit different than what I would do for a regular, full-length novel. We'll see how that writing works for me. I am enjoying it. I'm enjoying writing the story. It's a bit different. It's steamier, that's for sure. But it's just very angsty, very dramatic. And I'm enjoying writing it. So what I'm running ads on right now are Amazon ads for The Leftover Bride in the US and the French version of The Leftover Bride in France. And I just want to point out that I think my transitions for this episode are pretty amazing. Don't you think? So I've taken the free Brian Cohen's 5-day Amazon ads challenge several times. I never really put the time to fully engage with all the material. And I also have the Mark Dawson's Ads for Authors course, which I paid in installments. But I was always more focused on the Facebook ads part of the Mark Dawson's course, not as much on the Amazon ads. So last week, I decided to take the plunge and restart learning the Amazon ads. Brian doesn't currently have a challenge, but I'm rereading through comments and trying a few things. And I'm going to look through a bit closer to the Mark Dawson's module on the Amazon ads. So in the US, there hasn't been a lot of movement on those ads. I have 6 ads with about 100 keywords each, and I only have 1,531 impressions. 1 click, no sales, and I spent 36 cents so far. In France, I have 3 ads running. I started with only 2, including one which had a very good return on investment. I had about 10,000 impressions, paid about €5 for a profit of about €10.25. So I'm scaling it up, and for now it hasn't resulted in more sales, but it's only the beginning of the ad because I created it yesterday and that ad actually doesn't have any impressions yet. As of today, It stands at 14,123 impressions, the 3 ads that I have running. I spent now about €8.36 and the revenue is still €10.25. So it's still a profit. Right now, I get about 10 clicks per sale. So once I have 100 clicks, I look deeper into what keyword is generating the clicks and if there's a correlation with the sales. So I'll keep you updated. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask me. There's a link to a voicemail in the episode's description. I'm also on Instagram and TikTok, as you can tell from all the beginning of that episode. And I will also add the links to my profile in this episode's description. Talking again about TikTok, as I've mentioned when I was talking about my different accounts, I am currently doing short daily updates there and not as daily. So I'm doing short updates, not as much depth as in this episode, and I try to keep them pretty short. And sometimes it's a lot of rambling. I don't do any editing for those. It's really just me recording myself and posting it. I might add them sometimes at the end of the podcast episodes, like today. I'm going to share one that I shared during the week on TikTok. Hello, TikTok. I have a new author dream, kind of. So I'm currently working on ads, Amazon ads for my books. My books are one of my book, which is The Leftover Bride, and that series, it's a steamy rom-com. And so I'm looking for authors that I can use as keywords as well, right? So it's Christina Lauren and Emily Henry and Farrah Bonchon and all those wonderful authors that I admire and love their writing. And so I'm thinking maybe one day TikTok, an author will sit on their couch and look for my name as a keyword. Elodie Novodatsky. Maybe they'll use The Leftover Bride as a keyword. Or maybe Sweets for Love. Or the next books in that series. How cool would that be? And yes, this is a filter. Talk to you later. As always, thank you so much for listening. Don't forget to like, rate, subscribe, share this podcast with your friends. If you'd like to support me and my books, and if you like rom-coms, make sure to read The Leftover Bride and leave a review. Otherwise, you can always become a monthly supporter of a self-published author's diary starting at only 99 cents per month. And again, like I did the previous weeks, I will also add links on how you can support Ukraine. And I just want to wish every writer out there happy writing, and to all readers, happy reading.